We're live. This is John Moran, Solutions 8. Today's Monday, September 20th at 9:29 a.m. I am early. Last week didn't have a live just because I was actually speaking at the Traffic and Conversion Summit, which was a blast. That place is amazing. Thousands of people there. It was just, yeah, it was cool. Got to do a virtual breakout to everyone there in internet land, like kind of like what I do here. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So sorry I didn't have a live last week, but going live today, and I'm actually going to be shooting more and more videos. My schedule's been pretty packed lately, but going to be making time to kind of batch up like 3 or 4 videos at once and then get them in the queue so that we can have more frequent videos coming out here in the channel for me. So you're not just watching Cosmo all the time and then see me only on like Mondays and a couple random days. Introduce, hey, I'm doing good. How about you? Hey, Mohammed. Yeah, doing really good. Doing really good. COVID was fun, but you know, over that now, and hopefully have those good antibodies. Hey, Corey. Yeah, doing really good. I really appreciate it. It's awesome. Good to be back this week. Last week was crazy. Oh, great seeing you talking DNC. Oh, Aaron, thank you so much. Yeah, that was fun. That was my first public speaking event. It was definitely nerve-wracking. That's for sure. I had yeah, no plan. I know. I got new clothes. Gonna try some solid colors. Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of my like signature, button down plaid. I think I bought like 10 shirts from Amazon, and then I just like cycle those things out. My wife dresses me, so you can blame her. So I go, hey, how's it going? Love from India, man. This is so cool. Just like speaking to a whole bunch of people worldwide. I love this whole community and this whole connectivity. We have, I think, like 50 employees now, and it's insane. I never thought it was going to get this big, and it's been a very humbling experience because the team is just amazing. But we're, Qasim, my business partner, and I, we're in the same building here, and then everyone else is around the world. So it's just really, really, really cool. Hey, Simon, glad to catch you live. Yeah, I know. I think I've seen some of the comments. I think it's you who are just like, I missed the live, and then I try to like answer them as soon as I can. This last week I've been kind of MIA just because of the show and everything. I had to drive 6 hours to San Diego, do the whole show, then drive back 6 hours, and then my last week just got crashed because I think we had probably man, I don't know. I think I had like 13 calls in one day on Thursday, like the day after I got back. Hey, Cecilia, hope your campaign's going good and kind of making those optimizations from the ad preview diagnosis. Yeah, so this is awesome. Again, here for any questions. I'm here for you. Josie, yeah, I know, long time no see for sure. That was that TNC yesterday. I think my first speech was on Monday, and then my second speech was on Tuesday. Then we do two different breakouts. One in one of the breakout rooms to a private audience, and then one going live to the live audience, which is really cool. That was a lot of fun. I had to speak to the audience and the camera at the same time while doing the teleprompter stuff, but not teleprompter. They just had the slides in front of me, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, so you got questions? I'm good. Oh, Cecilia, doing much better. That's awesome. I'm really happy that it's cool to help people remotely just here via chat. This is great. Corey, on the subject of algo liquidity, thoughts on weighing the positive and negative impacts on adding negative keywords to a new campaign in the learning phase? So Corey, it really depends. It depends on what match type you're using. If you're using phrase and exact, you can start adding negatives, right off the bat. If you're using broad, the keywords that you want to add as negatives should be more phrase and exact negatives. But here's what's interesting. There's a weird paradigm that I see where adding negative keywords becomes ineffective and adding negative keywords becomes very effective. The first thing is, if you're using broad keywords, don't add your negatives as broad, because how broad can go really, really broad in a positive sense, like the positive keywords, the ones you're bidding on. The negative keywords can go negative broad in the same exact way. So if I had if I was saying, red high heel, and I add a negative keyword as shoes, that's a red high heel. And so Google's like, well, if your broad keyword is also negative and it's overlapping with the positive keywords. So you want to add your negative keywords as a phrase and exact match most often when you can. But here's where I would see is the most benefit. Negative keywords, when you add them, if you aren't adding them to your high impression, high click keywords, you're not necessarily going to have a positive effect on the campaign. Here's what I mean by that. If you have one impression and one click and it was a negative keyword and you add that, or it was a keyword you didn't want, When you add that as a negative keyword, you almost kind of like are the police that show up after a crime, that once that crime is committed, that same crime is never going to happen again. So you add that negative keyword and you're like, why isn't this really working? So you want to look at, use the last at least like 3 to 7 days worth of data, sort descending by impressions, and where you see the keywords or the search terms showing up that you don't want, make sure you have more than one at least, because that's where it's going to be effective. If you keep showing up for that search and you're getting more than like 20, 30 impressions and you have a few clicks and you don't want that, when you add that as a negative keyword, that's when you're actually going to have an impact. If we keep adding the negative keywords on just the one impression, one click for a long tail search term that you're probably never going to get again, it's not going to have a big impact. So just kind of quick tip there, make sure you have at least 20 or 30 impressions on that keyword, because if you have just one impression, one click, it may not happen again. That crime may never be committed again, and you're the police that show up and try to fix it after the fact. So hopefully it's kind of a good analogy to think about how you should be adding negative keywords. So then try to add them as phrase and exact as much as possible. Shahid, hey John, hope you're well. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry if I butcher everyone's name here. I am terrible at names. With regards to smart shopping, what's the best way of improving smart shopping performance when you have products that are seasonal? What's interesting is we have products that are seasonal that still sell year round. But what I found to be the case is if you are simply adjusting your budget to the seasonality, with or without a ROAS goal, just depending on how in demand those products are, if you're adjusting your budgets, you can actually keep a good solid 400 to 500 to 600 return on ad spend by spending, sometimes $300 a day down to $25 a day. If they are seasonal, my opinion is don't ever turn them off, because Google has that 2-day rule and you have those repeat and return customers that you kind of maybe would want, throughout the year. But if you have seasonal products, depending on if it's like, a Christmas tree, then, obviously that's not going to work in like June. But if you have a seasonal products where people mostly buy them like throughout the few months, but there is still some people that will buy them throughout the rest of the year, just adjust your budgets. If you start to see that your conversions are becoming lighter, like you're not seeing as frequent conversions, reduce that ad spend down to a point where you might only spend $15 that day, but if you make a $65 sale, you're still at least ROAS positive. You're still teaching to algo what it needs to look for. You're just not like trying to scale during the off season and all of a sudden you're spending more and you're getting less, because traffic is always existent. People are always going to click on ads for some reason. Maybe they're just bored. I'm not sure why, but you can have an increase in traffic and an increase in ad spend, even though you're seeing a decrease in your conversion rate. So just throttle your ad spend appropriately and just kind of keep adjusting those levels depending upon the frequency of those conversions. Other than that, there's not much. You really can't force a market to buy something when it's not in season. So I would say that that's usually the best strategy. Joe's got a few questions following. Sounds good. Cecilia, do you import bad leads back into Google Ads as offline conversions? How does Google know those are bad leads? I don't want to replicate them. So usually what I'll do is if I do have bad leads coming in, I need to build some sort of common denominator. Is the bad lead a specific demographic? Now, sometimes you can just look at the lead and say, well, this keyword, it might be a little bit too broad. I'm getting a lot of conversions from them at good metrics, but I know those are coming bad. If you're looking at the ad group campaign, or sorry, the campaign ad group keyword and ad that's bringing in those bad leads, if you can't identify them in Google Ads, like the main keyword is giving you just as many good leads as bad leads, you can import those as conversion actions. Call them bad lead. Look through your demographics. Look through your age, your gender, your household income, your parental status, and see if you can find at least 80% common denominator. Sometimes people just Google, the same exact keywords in a good situation, whether they're in a good situation or bad situation. Google Ads is going to be hard to decipher a situation rather than a demographic. So sometimes you just can never identify the situation. And sometimes you can. Most of the time it's based on keyword or search term, because you can see which, and now with search terms, you can import your bad lead and then segment by conversion action by search term and see if there's a specific type of search term that's coming in for the keyword that's delivering you the bad lead. But here's what I would do. Create a conversion action for the bad lead, import it as clicks. However, do not count it in conversions. So that toggle that says including conversions, that checkbox, uncheck that. Make sure it's not counted. That means it's not actually going to affect the algorithm. You're just going to be able to import to see visibility. The only way you can identify those is you have to open up your all conversions tab, and those conversions that you're not counting as conversions will be visible for all areas of Google in your all conversion tab, not your conversions. So you can do that. However, just make sure you're not becoming a little bit overzealous and then accidentally kill the keyword that is delivering you the good leads. And if you're like, man, I've had 5 bad leads, one was 18, one was 65, one was 34, one was 28, and both are male and female and both have parental status, and there's not a common denominator, then don't do that, because you're going to actually end up throwing out the good with the bad. Sometimes you're just going to get bad leads, but see if you can identify those common denominators by importing them as offline conversions. Do not include them in conversions. Look through the all conversion tabs, and you'll be able to see where those came from and see if you can identify any common denominators. So, hey there, I wanted to ask you about the 3x Shopify challenge recordings. Will they help me set up standard shopping campaign before the smart shopping transition, because I'm struggling with standard? No, not necessarily. The 3x Shopify was just smart shopping. We found that if your standard shopping campaign is struggling, I would actually just try smart shopping. There's not a whole lot that standard shopping and smart shopping will learn off standard shopping that it won't also learn from DSA, inbound search, YouTube, display, anything. So if you're having trouble with standard shopping, try smart shopping. It's a completely different animal. They're only 1/6 the same, and so that's what it really. I mean, there's only 1/6 of the attributes that standard shopping shares with smart shopping. It doesn't do any dynamic prospecting. It doesn't do any dynamic remarketing. It's not on all 6 channels of Google. From an inbound and outbound perspective, it is on inbound. It is on some display. But I would say try smart shopping first. But the 3x Shopify challenge recordings will teach you exactly how to set it up. If I took you on as a client, that's exactly what I would do. So that's my opinion there. Have you found audience income demographics to be accurate? Notice a huge slowdown in traffic since implementing it. Anthony, it's interesting. It's actually, here's the interesting part of it. The income is actually by zip code from census data, and it's relative. Here's what I mean by that. Is a lower, or it's the 30, 11 to 20, 21, the lower like 40 percentile. Let's just use this. A 40% income earner in Orange County, California, could be $300,000 a year. The lower 40% in, let's say, Southern Missouri could be $28,000 a year, but they're still going to fall under the same bracket. So when you look at income earnings, you have to say, well, what is my targeted demographic? Or sorry, what is my targeted geographic? And will this apply to all income ranges across the entire area? Now, the bad part about that is you might say, hey, I only need the top 20%. Well, in half the states, they might be at such a small amount of income that there's only 10% of the population there. And that's where you're going to see a huge reduction, because the top 10% income earners is so relative to that area that you might cut out accidentally a lot of traffic. So what I normally see is that income is a lot of times after like 90 to 120 days, if I see one audience that's just like 2x CPA, I'll set a negative 50% advanced bid adjustment on that, so that I'm just going to pay less for that traffic. But if you exclude it, you're going to take out thousands and thousands of people. So income is relative. So think about your geography, and is the top 10% in that geography versus the top 10% in that geography, those might be $500,000 a year income earner apart, even though they're in the same bracket. So if you do cut it out, you might cut out accidentally a lot more people than you thought you were. So I would use advanced negative bid adjustments. So pay 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% less for that income earner, depending upon what you're trying to solve. If it's CPA, pay less. If it's just bad conversions, pay a lot less, maybe exclude it for some time, but don't go too crazy there, because you can accidentally cut out like 60 to 70% of the United States on accident. By bad leads, I refer to people who cancel a subscription to our online yoga during free trial and don't pay anything. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a Google fixable issue, Cecilia. And here's what I mean by that is Google's going to say, well, these are people who wanted to sign up. Now, they might be a situational person, where what I mean by that is you might have a person that says, yes, I wanted this and I'll pay for it, versus the yes, I wanted this, but now I just don't want to pay for it anymore. And so those are two kind of different situations that are going to look exactly the same on the face of Google. So sometimes that's not necessarily something that can be fixed from Google, just because it's like, hey, they're both identical people. One's just a person that's cheap and the other person was a person that found value. But I would still say that technically you want both of those, because you want where the intent's coming from. You want the people that are going to sign up. And then I would say, now this isn't a bashing against the business model, but find out why they were canceling or why they had a free trial and didn't sign up, and then work from that point on. Was it, it just didn't fit my schedule? Well, then that's not something that you're ever going to be able to fix. It was just that one person. And what other person's like, yeah, I just wanted a bunch of free videos. That's going to be another thing. Like, what if I had a, $10 subscription and you get the recordings of the classes that we have, like, 10 days later, whatever it is. But I would say that that's not necessarily on the front end fixable. That's more situational on the back end. I wouldn't necessarily use Google to try to affect situational. That's more business model and business operations, in my opinion. All right, Jones, here we go. We got a few of them. I've separated our products to 2 campaigns called low margin, high margin. What's the campaign? Is it smart shopping? I'm guessing. I separated our products to 2 campaigns called low margin and high margin, but the low margin smart shopping campaign just almost stopped running right now. Spent $1 or $0.50 a day. With the margin over $30 a day, I'm guessing that's budget, maybe. Can I just add the products to the high margin campaign and disable the low margin one? If a smart shopping campaign cannot gain conversions for a long time, like 10 days longer, and the bidding setup is maximize conversions, will it stop test products and just go die? The budget is $20 per day, but it's spending about $1 to $3 per day. And then we don't have a T-ROAS on that. We have a smart shopping campaign before, but works not good enough, so we canceled it, and now we want to test our products again. So do we have to set up another totally new smart shopping campaign, or just restart the old one? A few things to unpack here. 1, I'm just assuming we're not using a target return on SMM. 2, I'm assuming that the products in one campaign are excluded from the other campaign, so both campaigns are not sharing the same product. I'm assuming that's true there. Google is running at a 100% return on ad spend default. If you do not use a target return on ad spend and it cannot hit 100% ROAS, it will not run. What I would say to fix this is, it's a weird hack, but it works. Go into your campaign settings, and under your conversion area, sorry, I got to sneeze here. Go into your conversion area, and under drop down, rather than account level conversion, do campaign level conversion, and add an arbitrary value to the new customer acquisition. What this is going to do is bring it out of that slump. And your campaign might be stuck in a remarketing only, and which is why it's going to die. And what I mean by that is the remarketing only campaigns that smart shopping ends up falling itself into is because it says, hey, the new people and the returning customers, or my existing kind of traffic, are worth the same. But Google knows it's 6 times easier to get a remarketing user, a person that's been to the site, to buy rather than go and hunt for a new one. So what you have to do is you have to purposely get it out of that slump so that it can spend the money. But how you do that is, and you can add an arbitrary value, but make sure that arbitrary value is big enough to make it dent. Don't just say like $5 or $10. Put like a new customer's worth $200. And what it'll do is it'll actually spike that traffic, because Google's going to say, wow, the new customers are worth way more than the other customers. I got to go find new customers. And it'll actually start to spend that way. Make sure T-ROAS is off. Make sure that the product's excluded in the other campaign. Set a $200 conversion value. Now, here's the thing. Google is going to look like it says, hey, I made a sale, and it was a $10 sale. I made $210. You know that's not true, but you're using this to spike the ad spend because of Google's default, like 100. Now I think they said officially it was like 200 ROAS. If you have a T-ROAS off, it defaults to try to hit 200% ROAS, and if it can't, it just dies. So you have to use that new customer acquisition goal. Try that. I brought out 4 campaigns in the last 3 weeks using that strategy, and it's worked every single time. So just know, though, that that number that you're going to see inside of Google Ads for a new conversion is not going to be real. And you can see that by segmenting by conversions and say new versus returning customers, and you can identify the new customers, or actually returning customers are worth Y. When you have new customers, if there's 2 sales, just know that whatever your addition is $200 times 2. That's what you have to remove from the overall conversion value. And that's that formula that you're going to use there. Hope that helps. All right, got a new campaign using target impression share with absolute top results page set to 100% and max CPC set above high end shown in keyword planner for keywords, but the campaign just isn't performing. What would you do in this situation? So for there, If it's not performing, I'm guessing that you're getting clicks and impressions and spending the money. You're not getting any conversions. From there, turn on maximize conversions. What that's going to do is that's going to set a very aggressive CPC by keyword that your overall campaign strategy might be overspending. So as an example, you have, let's say, 25 keywords and you're all paying top dollar for it. Well, that 25 keyword, you might say, well, actually only about 6 are really relevant, but we're paying for 19 more and you're running out of your daily budget. Turn on maximize conversions and give it some time. If it starts to get conversions, hang tight before you can then switch to target CPA. But maximize conversions will get super aggressive in its bidding, but appropriately. It won't get super aggressive in its bidding for all. I only use target search impression share when I need to own a space. I have maybe 10 keywords. I'm spending $500 a day. Then I'll use that because I'll spend $5 more per click than everybody else, but I get 20% conversion rates because I know those keywords work. If you don't have a good set of keywords that you've tested for 6 months and you're like, this is my bread and butter, I wouldn't use that strategy just yet. I would actually use maximize conversion, or you can even try manual and set your bids manual. And when you switch over to manual CPC, that's when you get those 3 columns, the first page, top of page, absolute top of page, bid, and then set your manual bids to like $2 over the top of page and hang tight there. But you may find out that a keyword that needed to only spend $6 spent $26 in your EW daily budget. There's not enough data individually there for each keyword for Google to say, aha, this one works, this one doesn't. It's just like, well, I did my job. I paid for I paid for all the traffic you needed to. Google thinks this is awesome right now because Google's like, yeah, I'm meeting my goal, but you're not going to get any conversions because that's what you're telling Google. Hey, go get me top placement. And it says, got you top placement. And you're like, well, where are the conversions? I didn't ask for that. You asked for top placement. Okay, now I need conversions. So switch that over. See if you can get the algorithm to essentially start to pick up where the quality data is coming from based on pages per session, session duration, bounce rate, etc. Google will actually start to funnel the aspect to where it starts to see those good metrics. Make sure your Google Ads and your analytics are linked so that those two things share data. They should be good to go. Let's see, Corey, to clarify, is it better to invest in letting the algorithm learn from bad versus adding negative yourself? Is it better to invest in letting the algorithm learn from the bad? No, you can shepherd it along quicker. You don't have to. It will do that by default. But if you see that you're spending, here's what Google's gonna say. If I'm spending $100 a day in the last 7 days, I spent $700 on that keyword and that didn't do anything. I'm gonna start to spend less. Or you say, no, just stop. It takes the obviouses. Obviously, that's not a word. It's going to be a word today. It takes the obviouses. It takes the obvious ones and starts to spend less and then ramps it back down. But Google does this. I spend a lot. Is it working? No. Ramp it down. You're going to say, spending a lot. Definitely not relevant. Stop it. So that's what you can do. You can you can speed up that ramp down process by just chopping it off right then and there. But if not, it'll do it anyway. It's just gonna be more expensive to let it do it, but it will eventually happen for sure. Sal, what is the strategy for adding negative keywords for shopping campaigns? How do I decide to add the negative keyword as a negative or leave it? Well, is it relevant? And do you have enough data to know if it's relevant? So adding negative keywords on a shopping campaign, and then what's your time lag? For example, a keyword comes in and it's like, hey, this is sort of relevant. I think this is a good keyword. How many clicks do you have? Do you have 100? Do you have 200? Do you have 300? Has it been 12, 15 days? If not, you gotta let it go. If so, then you can add it. But have I spent enough money for a long enough time on that keyword to say, nope, it doesn't work? We usually use a base 100-point system. After 100 impressions, did I get a click? That's click-through rate. After 100 clicks, did I get a conversion? That's conversion rate. If you have 200, 300, 400 clicks and it's been 0, conversions and CTR looks kind of small on a standard shopping campaign, and your time lag is like 3 days and it's been a week, then then add it as a negative. But you need to give it enough time to see if it's going to actually work. And then if your time lag is long, if you add a negative keyword, you actually kind of have to, like 25 days later, you have to go back 25 days, look at that search term and say, did it end up bringing me a conversion? Because Google's going to count the time of the conversion, or the conversion as the time of the click, not the time of the sale. So it's again, that's why we all exist, is because we have to watch those things very, very closely and make the best decisions as possible. But that's what we would do, is you need to use a base 100-point system. That helps. Let's see. Surprised. Oh, I jumped here. Sorry, Hon. Surprised you use first click attribution so much. Don't you worry about limiting the touch point data you're feeding the algos? Not necessarily. Google's going to still have that. That's why, Corey, if you look at the actual model comparison tool will say, hey, If you use this one, this would be the result. If you use that one, this would be the result. If you use this one, that would be the result. Google's going to see it all. Attribution is really only for you. It's not actually necessarily for Google. Google's going to see everything. So, and Google's kind of putting a safeguard there. If you look at the model comparison tool, Google says if you use last click versus first click, this would be the result. However, you can't necessarily scale last click if you have multi-touch or if you're running a brand campaign. And if you use last click, and I'll give you a scenario. I have smart shopping and I have brand. Two campaigns that I'm running. If I'm using, let's say, last click, I'm going to give the majority of the conversions to brand. And then my smart shopping campaign, I'm like, hey, you have a 400% ROAS goal. Why aren't you meeting that? Like, do better, do the work, come on. And it's going to say, well, I would have hit 400% ROAS goal, but he gave all the attribution over to branded. So I have a 200% ROAS goal, and my campaign is going to start to atrophy. It's going to start to die. Why? Because I set a high goal, and then I took away its conversions. So when you have a campaign that you know is getting the first click, regardless of how they come back, if I'm going to set a high goal there, I need to give it the amount of conversions in order for it to meet that goal. You can't set a high goal and then steal away those conversions and give it to like half of it to something else, then say, why aren't you doing that? You could, if you said, hey, I need 400% return on ad spend. Smart shopping, you are always a first click brand, you're always a second click. I can put a 200% return on ad spend to that campaign because now I know I'm going to take half your attribution away. So I'm going to take half the goal away. The attribution models are for you. I need to see where is my interest coming from because I can scale interest. I can't scale brand. And if I have the interest coming from it, I'm going to set a high goal and I'm going to scale that regardless of how they come back later on. I can scale interest. I can't scale brand. That just gives you the structure that we usually use. And that's because we set high goals on first click campaigns because that's where I can say, okay, put 10 grand more per day in this thing and I'm going to skyrocket the exact same scenario that's going on right now. Hopefully that helps. Aaron, UTM parameters must use. Why should I be using them? Nope, don't need them at all. You're only if you need to follow up on the back end post click. So if you're not using a CRM tool, if you don't necessarily need to take conversion data outside of Google Ads to say what happened here and where did it come from, so I can go use data inside of Google Ads to make that smarter and better and faster based on lead quality, based on keyword that was used. If you're not doing any of that, you don't need them at all. Cecilia, wow, awesome. Thank you so much. Makes total sense. You got it. Roman, all right, here we go. We got a few of them here. I'm ready. How to categorize products for DSA, feeding campaign for SS. If I have an e-commerce store of medical products, for example, one category disinfection with 20 products, second medical gloves for 20 products, and so on. For each DSA ad group, should I have a link for category disinfection or for each product? Because I heard that we should do ad groups for all product plus ad groups for category in one campaign. So here's what I would say. It's going to be really necessarily up to you. Where you might find an issue is that if you're not using a singular URL per product, you can never sculpt keywords. You can't sculpt search terms. As an example, if your product category also has words in there that are showing up for, let's say, 20 pages, and you don't want them to show up for those 20 pages, like do a search in your DSA campaign on Google, search for it, and then say, I typed in this, I want to actually show my gloves, not my disinfectant. Google's thinking wrong. It's thinking that this product should show, and I want this product to show. Well, if I know that the product that's showing, I can say, hey, negative keyword that page, and then it's going to sculpt the other pages. So I usually like to use individual URLs. I never use categories when I can. I would always rather use URLs. And then put your dynamic ad targets to 20 URLs in one ad group. And then when you say, if you do a search and you're finding out that, well, the search term for this group should really be going to there. You can add negative keywords, but it's a little bit easier to sculpt if maybe you want to show this product in that one ad group, not that product. Well, you can't add it to the category because then all of them block off. But if you want to add a negative keyword to that page so that your other pages show, I like doing that better. I like complete control. I'm a control freak. So I like to add them as individual URLs, not categories, because keyword sculpting is a lot easier. Second question, what strategies should we use when launching standard DSA, dynamic remarketing, competitive campaign, and branded, no previous data, then switching to another strategy? Manual CPC. For display categories or display campaigns, max conversions. Anytime that you're running a DSA, I like manual CPC. Standard inbound search, manual CPC. Competitor campaign, absolutely manual CPC, because you're going to have to pay more because you're going to have low quality score. Dynamic marketing, max conversions. Branded, sometimes maximize clicks. because unless you have a lot of competitors, then you have to run manual. I like running manual in the beginning, unless it's going to be a campaign that's outbound. Then I use maximize conversions to teach it, hey, try to find a relevant audience first. I'm not going to manual CPC a display campaign because it's going to give me that. But on inbound campaigns, I need to see what I'm paying for first before I can say, ooh, that's bad, pay less, or just remove. I don't want to max conversions because then it's going to take all of your keywords and say, I can get $30 a click. I can get max conversions. I'm like, I only want to dip my toe at $5 a click to see the search terms. So I usually like running manual. Third question, Cosmo was saying that we should split our smart shopping campaign, look at a margin, but I also heard that you said they shouldn't split campaigns. All right, so here's the big issue. If you split a smart shopping campaign, it doesn't necessarily cross-pollinate very well. And if you have very like products, very similar products on a website, you end up actually deflating the value of smart shopping. Here's what I mean by that. If you have, I'm going to use this, 2 products. One is a shampoo and one is a conditioner. Perfect example. If I have that in one campaign, people can click on the shampoo and look at the conditioner, add the conditioner to cart, and then leave. And then that same campaign says, hey, they were interested in this product, go remarket that. And I'm going to remarket a shampoo inbound click to a conditioner remarketing click. If I separate those campaigns, think about how the feed works. I have a shampoo and conditioner in one campaign. I have a shampoo and conditioner in another campaign. The shampoo is active, conditioner is excluded. The conditioner is active, the shampoo is excluded. And now someone clicks on my shampoo smart shopping campaign, and they look at the shampoo. They add the conditioner though to the cart. This campaign says, man, the conditioner is excluded. I can't just jump to this campaign and say this conditioner is actually active. So go outbound. Google does that not very well. It's very, very bad. I've actually seen this with ecom prodigy firing per campaign. It doesn't work very well. That's how I figured this out. So what happens is it says, well, that shampoo user that was interested in the conditioner, it's added to the cart, remarket shampoo to them, the product that they were no longer interested in. Then it dies. However, now here's a different scenario. Mouse pads, wheelbarrows. People that come in for a mouse pad aren't going to be like, oh, wheelbarrow, that's what I look for. They're completely separate. So if you have completely separate products, then you can separate them out, because you're not going to have a click on a mouse pad that's going to jump to add a wheelbarrow to the cart. But you have to do that for all of your product lists. So that's why it's better to use one campaign rather than separate out. However, here's the other scenario. If you have a campaign that is, let's say, 1,000 SKUs, and SKUs number 900 to 1,000 aren't getting any impressions and any clicks, and you know those products aren't selling, break those out into its own smart shopping campaign, set a $100 a day budget on it. It will force spend to those products, and then you have to see how they perform. Typically, they won't perform as well as your other campaign because Google said, I didn't really have an audience for that, so why are you forcing me to do that? But you can if you need to. I've done that many times before when I needed like high price products that aren't selling as, $20,000 items, aren't selling as much as $100 items, but I need those to sell, so I'll force spend on those campaigns. That's the other scenario you can. If those start to perform well, then stick those back in the main campaign, because then they'll start to perform really well, add budget. So hopefully that helps. How to set up a profitable display campaign without using placements? Unfortunately, Google uses all game apps from the App Store. Yeah, so it doesn't do AdSense for mobile apps, Christian, anymore. I wish those days are long gone. Google likes money too much to give us that much control. Here's the crappy part. Display campaigns, I'm seeing like when you're doing $1,000 to $2,000 a day, that's when they actually become really useful. You can do it at $100 a day. You have to wait literally 10 times as long. So I hate display campaigns because with that, Google basically says, I have to spend a crap ton of money on irrelevant placements, find out that those placements are bad, and then fix it. And so you just need to dump a whole bunch of ad spend in. What I do have is I have a list of 80,000 apps and games and YouTube channels that are just like, kid games and irrelevant stuff like voice over IP apps and like, password protector apps and that kind of stuff. I have an 80,000 list that I just apply to every display campaign. That jumps in that helps a lot in getting rid of the irrelevancy. But again, I had to catalog 80,000 items and then keep those as an Excel file that I've just upload into the placements exclusion list. That seems to help though. But yeah, other than that, it just sucks. It really does. I wish it wasn't. I don't know why Google just ended up shooting itself in the foot and just killing its whole display campaign, but that's it. Roman, question number 4. Should we use first click attribution for smart shopping for collecting return on ad spend for smart shopping because that's our main goal, because we're optimizing zeros, and at what attribution model to choose? So yeah, I like first click attribution, and you can't choose it per campaign. You got to choose it per conversion action. So your entire account's going to go to that conversion action. But I always like to use first click because I can, again, scale where the interest is coming from, regardless of how they come back. Dynamic marketing fixed it, or convert them, great. If second click on smart shopping fixed it, first click attribution still works. If brand, that's fine. I don't spend that much money on brand. I need to scale where the audience finding dynamic prospecting campaign can go, not necessarily how they come back. I can't scale how they come back. So that's why I usually like to use first click attribution, and then look at your model comparison tool, look at your top conversion path, and you'll see the flow, and make sure that those campaigns have additional budget in order to make sure that you can maintain that flow. But that's where that's going to have the most amount of effect. First click, I like it the best. At the moment, I can't pay for HubSpot Pro to use UTMs. I use HubSpot Free and for capturing G-Lid. Can I still manually get the UTM without using an Excel sheet? Do you know any way to do this manually? I'm willing to put in the hard work. So if your forms are HubSpot Pro or HubSpot and you can't use UTMs, you can use Lucky Orange, luckyorange.com. It's a heat mapping and screen recording software, and it'll tell you the source and the UTMs that's coming to the site. And then you can filter by the people that visited the thank you page and look at the UTMs. So look, it's like $12 a month. Luckyorange.com. Just like how it is, how you think it's spelled, luckyorange.com. I would use that one. Ignore all the cool fancy tools that they have in there, unless they're going to be of good value to you. I love that tool. But if you said, hey, set up a tag, the tag is anybody that reaches the /confirmation, and then you can filter by that, and then filter by also the CPC traffic, and then it'll give you the 4 areas. Like I think it's campaign, aggregate, keyword, ad, and they'll actually tell you that. So you can use that way. It doesn't give you a name though. It just will show you where the UTMs are coming from. So that's kind of like a halfway to get there. So Simon says no clicks are low. Let me go back, Simon. What was your question? Oh yeah, clicks are low. It might be that if you're, and Simon, are you using broad keywords? Let me ask that. If you're using clicks and conversions, actually just not, yeah, clicks are low, clicks and conversions, just not spending the budget. If you're using broad, Simon, let me know, what's your match types? Top search impression share doesn't work well with broad because there's a billion ways that one keyword can be actually turned into a search term. So it's like, well, that one's kind of relevant. Do I want that one too? So if you're using phrase and exact, then absolute top impression share will work. It does not work very well at all with broad. I've had that issue many times. Jones, thanks a lot. You got it. Corey, max conversion versus max conversion value with situations where you try one or the other. Max conversions, I never use maximize conversion value because you're asking Google to do 2 things. You're asking Google, hey, can you please get a sale? And can you please get a big sale? What I usually use is maximize conversions. But if I would switch it over to, like, let's say, I would use a target CPA on a conversion value campaign. And what I need to do is find what the average cart value is, divide that by 4. That's my target CPA. Because now I'm telling Google, hey, can you give me a conversion for $25? Because I know that that's also going to turn to a 400 ROAS because my average cart value is $100. All I need you to do is get me a sale at this amount. It's a lot easier to scale rather than saying, hey, can you give me a 400 return on ad spend? It's like, hey, can you give me a sale and give me a large sale? It doesn't always happen. Google will get on target CPA, you'll get $200 conversions and you'll get $1 conversions. And just as an example, and you average $100. Well, good. Give me a $25 CPA. If I'm asking it for a 400% return on ad spend, it says, hey, give me the $100 then $200. Don't give me any of the $1 to $50. All you're doing is necessarily just cutting down your volume. So that's why I like using target CPA or maximize conversions, but then you're gonna have to switch over to target CPA eventually. And then I would just use 1/2 or 1/4 or 1/3 or whatever my average cart value is, and you back into ROAS that way. Same keywords. Oh, same keywords we've always used. Just build new campaigns using responsive ads instead of old campaign with expanded text. Yeah, you know what's funny is I've had a top search impression share campaign take like 10 days to actually start. So there's that. Google, again, it's not always going to be consistent. It's kind of whatever's going to work for that campaign, unfortunately. Sometimes previous things don't necessarily transfer to new things, especially if you're using pure broad, it kind of resets. Dylan, hey, Dylan, do you add a reconversion search term as a keyword to test broad match on? Remember, Dylan, yes, do that, but only when they're in goal. And then what you're going to have to find, though, is you might add 25 that have 1 sale in goal. After you add them, 5 might start to spend budget and become out of goal. Start turning those back off then. All we're doing is feeding it good, then siphoning out the bad. So take good search terms, add them as positive keywords, and then turn off the new positive keywords you just added, if they start to spend too much, add a high CPA, low ROAS, and turn those off. So I would definitely just keep rinse and repeat, Dylan. See you like next Friday. Anthony, suggestions for keywords with low quality score. Client doesn't have much content for landing page. Yeah. 2 things. Add a whole bunch of content, not in image form. Make sure the site's fast. Best thing. I'm going to try to go faster because I got 6 minutes left and I have a whole lot of these to get through. So Anthony, absolutely need content. It's just not going to work without it, period. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, Sal, you got it. Corey, SOP for restructuring existing accounts the way you like it. If performing well, only restructure 30% of poor performing, spend a 14-day period. Man, related SOP for transitioning away from using micro conversions and smart shopping campaigns. Man, I don't have an SOP for restructuring. I have to literally spend a half hour in each account that we take on, even before we sell the client, to make sure that I can have restructured. What do I need to restructure? I have one client, we're actually stripping all of the conversions out. All the conversions, we're turning off every conversion action. We're switching over to manual CPC with a high enough CPC that gives us above 50% search and price share, but below top ABS 80 to mimic maximize conversions. That's the SOP. And I got to wait, and we're going to import from clicks because it's lead generation. And I got to see where the quality leads are coming from before I know exactly what to change. It's all situational. And I know that's a blanket statement, but I have very rarely two that actually overlap. And I would hate to be like, hey, here, try this. So I'm so sorry, Corey. That's I don't have necessarily one. It could be if you have a 14-day period. What if you have a 26-day conversion lag? You got to look back 3 months now. And then what changes happened? Like, hey, it was going good. Then you did this, it was going bad. Now I just need to fix what went bad. It's all situational. I really apologize. I don't have a good SOP. For transitions away from micro conversions, if you're counting the micro conversions as conversion value in smart shopping, big problem. If you're counting micro conversions without conversion values, less problem. If you're counting the micro conversions without conversion values, then simply just pause those, reduce budget by 30%, wait. If you're counting it with conversion values, I hope it's not like your add to carts, your searches, your begin checkouts, your purchases, and all of those are being added. You might have to restart, honestly, or hang tight and just scale and know that your numbers are going to be just, segment by conversion action and see what your action number is. And then set your ROAS goal at that number. Your ROAS goal will be 1,500% and getting 300%. It's a lot. It's like we have a Titanic that's moving and we have to like steer it this way quickly. It's not going to happen. So you got to move slowly and give it enough time to adjust. That one's going to be a difficult one. I would say that if you're counting with conversion value, start pausing one conversion value at a time. So like get rid of your add to carts, wait a month, then get rid of your begin checkouts, wait another month. Adjust your ROAS and goal and your daily budget accordingly, depending upon how you need to react. Best way I can describe that. John, excluding placements at category level for apps and games has worked very well for display, but if you could share that Excel sheet, I'd love to test that. Yeah, I think excluding placements at category, the category level, it works for apps and games. You still, though, if you look through your placements of where ad shows, you're still going to see a whole bunch of them. I don't, Aaron, if you can email me, john@sol8.com, I'll send you the Excel list. I'm going to butcher this one. Mustafish, I'm so sorry if that was horrible. How do you optimize the bidding strategies for a standard shopping campaign? Go to smart shopping. I'm kidding. Honestly, you can, the best way I found is manual, and that's why I don't like it. It's a lot of manual. You're going to have to basically start to positive and negative your click, unless you want to just stick to maximize conversion value. If you do, switch to smart shopping because you're going to get 5x the performance. But I don't run standard shopping campaigns with those. I'd rather just switch to smart shopping. But if you want to run manual, then you just got to look at last 14 days, look at your time lag, look at the amount, look at your standard conversion rates, and adjust how your campaign is going to react with the sales. If you have 6 clicks to a sale, it takes 27 days, wait 90, make adjustments. It's really difficult, and you're never going to beat Google's algorithm. So that's why I always say just switch to smart. Cecilia, awesome, thank you. What do you do when your standard shopping campaign isn't hitting the target ROAS? Again, have you tried smart shopping? We don't run standard shopping anymore as an agency. We don't, and we manage about $8 million a year in just shopping campaigns, and we don't use standard at all. For me, it doesn't make any sense anymore. And we have to have 300, 400, 500% return on ad spend just to keep the client. And we run our contracts month to month, so they can cancel anytime. I can't use standard. My one campaign has a 400% ROAS. I tested standard for a week. It got 50%. I was getting 400, 500, 600. It went down to 50. I turned it off, went back to smart. It's that powerful. So that's what I would recommend. What strategy used for standard shopping versus after manual bidding is supplemental for smart? You're running a standard shopping campaign and a smart shopping campaign at the same time, Roman? If you are, your smart shopping campaign is probably failing at ecom product ID. Those two will, when they're both properly set up and ecom product ID is firing, it won't run a standard shopping. I've seen standard shopping run a few times when a smart shopping campaign is misconfigured, where ecom product ID just can't do dynamic prospecting, and so it just, standard shopping still runs. But if you're using standard shopping, it'll be manual, then you turn it off and turn on smart shopping, or turn on smart shopping and you'll see your manual just die because smart shopping starts off. But that's kind of concerning. Roman, check to see if your ecom product is firing perfectly. 78 exact phrase. Yeah, I would just try max conversion, Simon. And then after max conversion, after it starts to pick up, switch over then to target search impression share if you want to. It needs to have some sort of algo, unless it's something bigger that I'm just not seeing. Again, I can't diagnose the account. But go into ad preview and diagnosis, use some search terms, and see what it says. What is the error as to why it's not showing? Roman, thank you very much. You got it. Off top, should we wait for something like 3 Shopify for the near future? I don't know what we're gonna do with that yet. We are just slammed right now. So yes, you can wait. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna. It might be for a few months. So hang tight, Roman. I'll let you know. I don't know. We don't have anything on the books just yet for it. Sorry, Cecilia, sorry, I meant using an Excel sheet, not without using Excel sheet for manually tracking. I want to find out. No, again, I would just say, using an Excel spreadsheet is good. Cecilia, when you can, get HubSpot to do that with you. It's going to be so much more beneficial for you. So just as a short term, you can use Excel spreadsheets, but I mean, you might find that you can 2x your performance if you use HubSpot to say what are the common denominators long term, because you're gonna have to track this stuff for like 90 days. Honestly, if they come back 2 months later, again, Cecilia, it's worth investing into. Just as a side note. So excited with the information knowledge I get here. Thank you. You're very welcome, Roman. Cecilia, I love your metaphors. Thank you, Simon. Thanks, John. I'll see what happens over next week and hopefully catch you next week. Yeah, I'll be here next week. Roman says yes. If ecom product ID is firing perfectly and they're sharing the same budgets, man, I've never had that happen before. What percentile is ecom product ID? And in ecom product ID, is your IDs matching your feed IDs? Because ecom product ID can fire 80%, but it can fire 80% the wrong ID. Just make sure that ecom product ID, the parameter that is sending back, that parameter is exactly the same parameter that's in your feed. It shouldn't be happening. That's what's weird. I've never had that happen before. If it's set up correctly. That's why it's like, I dig. That's just something that is very interesting. Because I heard you recommend launching standard and smart. Yeah, you can. But what's going to happen is you run standard, and then as soon as you launch smart, it dies. It will get maybe 1 to 2 impressions a day. And that's where you're like, aha, smart shopping is now the campaign. And then I pause standard. I can't run those two at the same time. It's never worked. And that's why I'm concerned that something might else be going on. For how long better to launch standard before switching to smart? 20, 30 conversions, totally fine. 20 to 30 conversions over the course of like a month or two, you'll have enough information for smart to launch. Let's see here. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, cool. That's yes, Corey. If time, does top impression share bid at the query level still using 2 to 3 RSAs per ad group? I'm not sure your question, Corey. Does top impression share bid at the query level still using 2 to 3 responsive search ads? Yes. It will bid at the query level, and that's why broad doesn't do very well. It sort of bids at the keyword level, but it just attaches it to the query. So yes, but it goes campaign wide. And what sucks about the top search impression share is if you have keywords that are having a little bit less quality score, you may not even be able to earn that top spot for that, even if you're bidding high. Sometimes I have to bid 10x over the top on my competitive campaigns and manual just to get impressions to start showing up. And that's why I like maximize conversions. It'll tell you where you need to bid. Standard shopping allows you to boost search terms and implement negatives. Yep, our products range from $50 to $20K. Smart shopping always pushes low-cost items. Anthony, separate them out. And I have a campaign that sells anything from $4 light bulb to an $80,000 digital refraction suite for an optometrist. You have to separate them out. I did low, medium, and high price. So $0 to $500, $500 to $5,000, $6,000 to $80,000. Separate those smart shopping campaigns. That's the only way you can do it. You will not be able to cross-pollinate. That's okay. I've been running for a year and a half that way. It's been fantastic. Roman, to test search terms and feed 20 to 30 conversions for last month because I had 20 and a 3 month ago is okay. Yeah, I would say that you're good to go. I would launch smart shopping. That's so weird that smart shopping and standard are not fighting. If they're both running equally fairly well, something's wrong. Again, please check the ecom priority parameter and just make sure that parameter is matching it. If it is, I would just pause smart shopping or standard shopping and then just put all my ad spend into smart. It's going to be a better network for you. Yeah, it's okay though. Corey, are you guys still preferring to use 2 to 3 RSAs per ad group? Yeah, I actually, it's funny. I've been having good luck with just one. I find that unless your budgets are, $500 to $1,000 a day, it's hard to identify what's gonna be the top performing ad with 2 to 3 RSAs, just because RSAs are gonna go, you basically have 100 ads in one RSA. So if you have 3 of them per ad group and you have $12 a day, you don't have enough budget to test all that ad copy. So make sure you're throttling your RSAs to what your average daily spend is. And while working, smart shopping should be running DSA. Yeah. And if you are running DSA, maximize conversions, it'll go after the bottom of the funnel people that smart shopping is going to try to go after too. So it'll be sure. So sorry, I got to hop, but I think we got through all of them. Thank you very much, everyone. And I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.